Let me tell you something about motivation that nobody over 50 wants to admit. It doesn't work anymore, at least not the way it used to. And if you're relying on motivation to build your business, to change your life, to accomplish your goals after 50, you're setting yourself up for big failure. I'm going to show you why motivation starts failing after 50 and, more importantly, what actually works instead. The real strategies I use to show up and do work even when I'm exhausted, discouraged, and completely unmotivated. Happens quite often. I'm Mark. I'm almost 70, and I spent over 20 years running a luxury home building company and started many other businesses across different industries during the past 50 years. And right now I'm working retail while rebuilding my life from scratch again. And I can tell you from experience, the motivation strategies that worked when I was 30 don't work in my 60s. So I had to figure out what does. And that's what this video is about. You need to actually know what actually works when motivation fails, because it will fail. It fails me. It fails everyone. And your entire strategy depends on staying motivated. And if your entire strategy depends on being motivated, you've already lost. Let me start with the hard truth. At 68, you're tired, not just physically tired from a long shift or a bad night's sleep. I'm talking about tired deep in my bones, tired in your soul. You're tired from decades of trying, working, building, losing, starting over. You're tired from disappointments that accumulated over the years. You're tired from watching plans fall apart. You're tired from having people feed you false promises over the years. You're tired from fighting the same battles over and over. And that kind of tired doesn't go away with a good night's sleep or a motivational quote. When I was 30, I could work 12 hours a day, come home, work on side projects until midnight, wake up at 5 a.m. and do it all over again. And I felt great. I felt invincible. I had this endless reservoir of energy. Now, I work an 8-hour retail shift and I'm exhausted. Not because I'm weak, not because I've gotten soft, but because my body is 68 years old and it has opinions about how I spend my energy. So here's the thing about motivation when you're tired. It requires energy you don't have. Motivation is emotional energy. And when you're physically exhausted, when you're mentally drained, when you're just surviving your day job and dealing with people who are idiots all day, there's nothing left for motivation to work with. You can watch all the motivational content you want, even listen to every podcast. You could read every book. But if you don't have the energy, it doesn't matter. The inspiration hits and then it evaporates because you're running on empty. But there's a second problem with motivation after 50. You've seen too much. When you're young, you believe anything's possible because you haven't failed enough times yet. Your optimism is genuine because it hasn't been tested. But when you're over 60, you've lived through enough failures, setbacks, and disappointments that blind optimism just doesn't work anymore. Someone tells you you can do anything if you just believe in yourself, and part of you is thinking, yeah, I believed in myself when I started that business that failed. I believed in myself when I made that investment that tanked, and I believed in myself and it didn't matter. Motivation becomes harder to sustain because you're not fighting against tiredness. You're fighting against evidence. You're fighting against your own history. And that's a much harder battle. The big problem is the stakes are different. When you're 30 and you fail, you have time to recover. You can try again. You can pivot. You can start over. When you're 60 and you fail, the clock's ticking. You don't have another 30 years to rebuild. You don't have unlimited chances. So every decision feels heavier. Every risk feels bigger. And that weight makes it harder to maintain motivation because the The consequences of failure are so much more severe. And here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to say. Sometimes you don't feel motivated because you're not supposed to. Sometimes your lack of motivation is your body and mind telling you something important. Maybe you're pushing too hard. Maybe you just need rest. Maybe the goal you're chasing isn't exactly what you want. It's what you think you're supposed to want. And motivations can't fix that, because the problem isn't motivation. The problem is the goal itself. So if motivation is unreliable after 50, well, then what actually works? Well, let me tell you what I've learned, not from motivational speakers or success gurus, but from actually living this life, actually showing up day after day, actually building something when every fiber of my being wants to quit. The first thing that works is discipline. Not the sexy kind of discipline you see on social media, not the I wake up at 4 a.m. and I crush my goals performance crap. I'm talking about boring, unglamorous, show up anyway discipline. Here's what that looks like in real life. I work my retail shift. I come home exhausted. I don't want to film any videos. I don't feel motivated. I don't want to write any scripts. I don't feel inspired. But I have a rule. One day a week, I film content. That's Thursdays on my day off. That's the rule. And I follow the rule whether I feel like it or not. And here's the key. The rule is small enough that I can do it even when I'm tired. I'm not trying to film for 3 hours. I'm not trying to create a masterpiece. I'm just trying to show up, turn on the camera, and talk for 15 to 20 minutes. That's it. I can do that even when I'm exhausted. I can do that even when I'm not motivated, because the bar is low enough that discipline can do it. Most people set motivation-dependent goals. Like, I'm going to work out every day, or I'm going to completely transform my life. These goals require constant motivation to sustain, and when motivation fails, which it will, the whole thing collapses. Instead, set discipline-dependent goals. Goals so small that you can do them even on your worst day, like film 1 video per week, write for 30 minutes 3 times a week, walk for 10 or 20 minutes every morning. These are things you can do even when you're tired, even when you're not motivated or feel like it. The second thing that works, systems over feelings. I don't ask myself, do I feel like filming today? Because the answer is usually no. Instead, I have a system. Monday and Tuesday mornings, I write scripts. Thursdays, film 2 videos, edit them, create thumbnails, and upload them, and take Friday off. That's the system. I don't debate it. I don't negotiate it with myself. I don't wait for motivation. I just follow the system. And here's what's wild. Once I actually am doing the thing, motivation often shows up. Not before, after. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. When I started this video, I was tired. I feel good now. When I sit down to write a script, the first 10 minutes are painful. I'm staring at a blank page thinking, I have nothing to say. This is stupid. Nobody cares, but I keep trying anyway. And somewhere around the 15-minute mark, something shifts. The ideas kind of start flowing. The words come easier, and by the end, I'm actually enjoying it, and 3 hours have flown by. But that would never happen if I waited to feel motivated first. I had to start unmotivated and let the motivation catch up. The third thing that works, accountability over inspiration. Inspiration's great, but it's fleeting. You feel inspired for an hour, maybe a day, then it's gone. Accountability is what keeps you going when inspiration fades. I told you all, everyone watching this channel, that I'm posting twice a week. That creates accountability. If I don't post, I'm not just letting myself down, I'm letting you down. And that matters. That's what gets me to show up, even when I don't want to. I work with a guy a bit younger than me because that has become a friend, and is soon leaving where we work together to travel the country for quite a while. He joked, "Hey, I'll miss seeing you at work, but I'll see you on YouTube twice a week." I kind of chuckled. But knowing there are viewers like that, that's my accountability. You have to find yours. Tell someone what you're doing. Join a group of creators. Make a commitment. Do something that makes it harder to quit than to keep going. Because on the days when you're not really motivated, accountability will kind of drag you forward anyway. I've had 2 weeks of lots of junk happening, and I couldn't create any new videos. I had to move, was without hot water for over 2 weeks in my new place. Crap like that. But luckily, I planned ahead and had content created for 3 weeks in advance, so I didn't have to panic if something happened, and thank God I did. The fourth thing that works, micro goals instead of big, huge dreams. Big dreams they're great for inspiration. Like, I'm going to build a 6-figure business, or I'm going to retire early. But big dreams don't help on Thursdays at 9 a.m. when you're exhausted and you need to film a video. Micro goals do. Example, I'm going to film for 20 minutes, or I'm going to write 500 words. These are small enough that you can visualize completing them even when you're tired. And when you complete them, you get a tiny hit of accomplishment. And that tiny hit is enough to keep you going. I don't think about building $1 million business when I'm exhausted after work. That's too big, too abstract, too far away. Instead, I think, can I film one video today? Yes, I can do that, and I do it. And tomorrow, I'll do the micro goal. That's it. One small action at a time. The fifth thing that works, rest without guilt. This is one of the most high achievers struggle with. We think rest is weakness. We think taking a day off means you're not serious. We think we're not constantly pushing, we're failing. But here's the truth. Rest is part of the work. Rest is how you recharge. Rest is how you sustain discipline long term. I try to take Fridays off, completely off. No content creation, no business building, just rest. And I don't feel guilty about it because I know that rest is what allows me to show up Monday through Saturday. If you're burning out, if you're exhausted, if you're running on empty, you need rest, real rest. Not scrolling on your phone rest, not watching TV but thinking about work rest, actual intentional guilt-free rest, and then you come back stronger. The sixth thing that works, identity over outcomes. I used to be outcome focused. I need to make X dollars. I need to hit X subscribers. I need to achieve X goal. And when I didn't hit those outcomes, I felt like a failure. Now, I'm identity focused. I'm a content creator. That's my identity. My content creators create content. So I do that. Whether it gets 100 views or 10,000 views, I'm still a content creator. That outcome doesn't define me. The action does. When your identity is tied to actions rather than outcomes, you can keep going even when the outcomes aren't what you wanted, because when you're starting, the outcome numbers won't be there. Yet I expect no more in the beginning, so I won't be disappointed. Now, let me tell you what doesn't work after 50. Comparing yourself to younger people. You'll lose that game every time. They have more energy, they have more time, they have fewer responsibilities, they don't have 60 years of old knees and backs. You cannot compete with them on energy and time, but they can't compete on your wisdom, experience, and your perspective. So stop trying to match their pace and start leveraging your own advantages. What also doesn't work? Perfectionism. Tried it. At 60, you don't have time to be perfect. You have time for good enough. You have time for done. You have time for uploaded. I used to obsess over every detail, every word, every frame. Now I film, I edit, I upload. It's not perfect, but it's done. And done beats perfect every single time when you're building something from the ground up. What also doesn't work, waiting for the right time. There is no right time. You're tired now, you'll be tired next week. Hell, you'll be tired next month. If you wait until you feel fully rested, fully motivated, fully ready, you'll be waiting forever. Start anyway. Start tired, start unmotivated, start unprepared. Just start something. So here's what I want you to take from this. Motivation is great when you have it. Use it. ride that wave, but don't depend on it. Build a life and a business that functions without motivation. Build systems, build discipline, build accountability, build identity. Build something that works even on your worst days, because your worst days are when it matters most. And if you're over 50 and you're struggling to stay motivated, I want you to know you're not broken, you're not weak, you're not lazy, you're tired, and that's okay. You've earned the right to be tired, but being tired doesn't mean you're done. It just means you need a different strategy. Stop trying to manufacture motivation and start building discipline. Stop waiting to feel like it and start doing it anyway. Stop depending on inspiration and start following systems. Hey, I'm 68 years old. I work retail. I come home exhausted, and I still show up twice a week to create content. Not because I'm always motivated, but because I'm always disciplined. And discipline will take you further than motivation ever could. If this resonated with you at all, if you're building something after 50 and you're struggling, subscribe to the channel. I'm documenting this whole journey, the good days and the bad days, the motivated days and the disciplined days. Let's figure this out together. Leave me a comment below and tell me what's your biggest struggle with motivation. What keeps you going when motivation fails? Let's learn from each other, because we're all in this fight and we're all figuring it out as we go. Starting over at 50 or 60 or beyond isn't the end. It's a different kind of beginning. What's your starting over story? Some days I'm motivated. Most days I'm just disciplined, and that's enough. Well, I'm starting to get tired, so I'll see you in the next video.